Hi, this is Ed in San Diego, and today is 21 June, longest day of the year, first day of summer. And in just a few minutes, we're going to have our program called Global LA. It's actually focused on some leaders within the LA market, but there's people from other places who want to be involved and want to network. And so I've invited them to join the conversation. And we're going to begin at the top of the hour. So this is all about the Mastermind edition. I'm going to read a couple of things here. The masterminds, which is what I'm calling this group, and you'll see why the minute we start. They're really bright people and really adept at what they're doing. They're going to be talking about the converging of regional economic development and talent development and how it's all tied together. Maybe you never thought of that. The mobility of talent from around the world, whether it's virtual or in person or hybrid, uh, is becoming warp speed. And there's a big, of course, you've heard of the war for talent. It's real because the best talent is commanding the best packages. And that usually results to companies moving ahead. So how do the leaders create a culture? I'm going to read this. Creating a culture for growing resilience and well-being and measurable productivity with this new global talent. We're talking about tech talent. We're talking about expertise in customer services and generating not just AI, but generating relationships which lead to security and higher productivity. So companies are trying to attract and develop and retain global business talent. For the long term would be great, but let's just deal with the short term and making it work. All this leads to new leadership development, and that's what this program and the global series that we're into, that's what it's all about. New leadership development has nothing to do with managing people. Who wants to be managed? That's what author Stephen Howard says in his new book about humany, harmony and humany. Humanyleadership.com is his book, and we'll talk about that later. So this is about the future of work. How do we progress into the next phase? Well, the masterminds are going to get into that. Whether it's remote or hybrid or mandatory in office, at least part-time, what's the new reality? Let's discuss it. Probably going to be all of the above, right? The gig economy. You know, in Hollywood, I happen to know something about the business side of that because of past experiences, but they've thrived. Hollywood has thrived for generations on gig workers. Think of Raiders of the Lost Ark or the Tom Cruise movies. There's certainly a core team, the producers, the directors, head of casting, things like that. But then they hire up actors and all kinds of actors, top level as well as support, and people who deal with the construction of the sets and the moving of equipment around and the training and development of new talent. It's all gig, and people move from movie to movie or TV show to TV show. They've been doing that forever. Now the rest of the economy is catching up. So we're going to be talking about global talent acquisition, whether it's remote or in person. The visa limits or relaxed federal requirements, not only in the US, but some other places. There's a war for talent going on, and this program will be all about that. So we're talking about as well international talent transfer, talent mobility, expats, inpats, hybrid, once again. You've heard the term soft skills, leader training. Those have been around forever. Perhaps more people need to learn how to think about that rather than just numbers. If you don't take care of the soft skills, in other words, people-to-people, relationship building, building trust, that adds to resilience. We're talking in general. Surely there's some bad apples here and there, or other people that need extensive training and development. That's okay. But if you don't take care of those soft skills, it's really going to be hard money losses. So soft skills have big bucks connected to them today more than ever. We're going to be learning more about that. Okay, so layoffs and reshuffling of talent, reshuffling of industries, that's what's in the headlines recently. Pandemic, there are a lot of layoffs, of course, and then people got paid to do nothing for a while and they went out and spent it. So the economy never really got bad. Some industries, some companies got hurt and others just flourished. So let's learn how to listen better. And we're going to learn about some techniques today in this broadcast. Bringing together people from across borders, from across cultures, from across industries, from across silos to meet and exchange ideas using what I call the global meeting room. Here we are on Global TV, and I thank you for participating. We'll be right back with the program. Thank you for being here on Global TV.
You get the both of so it's a business community, and we have like 10 verticals of business, so people can come in, and it's a very relationship-based community, right? So we have about 20,000 relationships, and these relationships, mostly took me also 32 years to build, and just a place that whenever you guys want to bank on 90210 Beverly Hills name, it's for free. You don't need to pay for it. And also Hollywood, they call me and, they use our business community and vice versa. And we connect to the world, and we just like to help people to do less, maximize their time and their efforts to really be result driven for themselves, for their organization, or for their services. And, I'm very happy to be here, Cohen. And thanks to Dr. Forrest, I gotta say, Dr. Forrest, Natalie is the one who actually introduced me to you.
Yeah, she's great.
When I couldn't go, I sent my beautiful light here. I call him the light, Annalisa, to you. And today, I'm not happy. I'm excited to be part of this niche group, get to know everyone, and we're gonna have a blast. So thank you for allowing me to talk about myself. Of course, I'm married, 4 kids, and then I love people. I love serving people, and there you go.
All right. So everybody, I want you to use the chat down there. No sales pitches allowed, but certainly give your website, your phone number, your height, your weight if you want, but no sales pitches. Hi, this is Ed. I'm in San Diego, and you're on Global TV Talk Show. Many of you have already enjoyed this type of dialogue, highly interactive, totally unscripted, and watch out. It's supposed to be spontaneous. I want to welcome my good friend, Doreen Cumberfoot. Hello, Doreen, welcome again.
Hello, thank you. And I apologize for being late. I had a good excuse note, though.
Okay, what's the excuse?
I'm in America right now, and I'm unable to get prescriptions, and I have a Rolls-Royce policy. Talking to insurance companies, not fun, not a fun excuse. No, dog ate my homework. I wish it had.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for persevering enough to be on this show. It's been several months. So Doreen has been on our show a couple of times, talking about the life of an expat. For many years, she was a diplomat, but and a spouse, not trailing, but accompanying her husband, who's a senior executive within a very large oil energy company in Saudi. And so Doreen also wrote a book, or more than one, right?
Yes, yes, I have two books, one on repatriation, which is a small ebook, and the other one is Life in the Camel Lane, which is about the intercultural adjustments necessary for Western women to live happily in Saudi Arabia.
So Doreen, I want you to meet Lachelle. She's on the screen there, blonde and wearing
Hi,
red.
Lachelle.
Hey,
And
how are you?
she's a mobile person and a global mobility leader for many years, and is now embarking on a new adventure. So Doreen is going to talk to us in just a couple of minutes about the need for expatriation, in other words, coming back,
Repatriation. Yeah.
repatriation.
Mhm.
That's a chore in itself and quite a challenge, even for a senior person, not senior in age, but senior experience level. It never gets easy, right, Doreen?
Absolutely. In fact, I think the more intercultural hits you take on your psyche, the more challenging it can become. Or otherwise, what happens is we tend to just sweep all the many, many issues under the carpet because there's so many to deal with. And there are not current ways for executives and repats to go through the process and get all their lessons learned out on the table usually.
So before we get into a deep dive here, and everyone will have a chance to have the focus. So Doreen, you've talked to me about rewiring, the need to rewire your brain in order to avoid basically depression and a lack of stability and not fitting in.
Yeah.
Like, who would think that coming back to the US would be a problem? But it is.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I came up with the term moving from rewirement to retirement because when we left our big corporate position in Saudi Arabia, we were also retiring. So it was sort of a double whammy. And the same skills that you need to create a new lifestyle, a new life, a new existence, a new identity, and a new orientation are required in both directions.
Yeah. Okay, more on this later. Welcome, Tineke from Rotterdam. I see that you're still in a cast.
No.
Oh, you're not. Well, I can't see your feet, but I saw the
Well, I can show it if you want.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. So everybody, this is Tineke. She
now,
is.
hold on, Ed. We have to have that done again. That cannot be just so quick that you show your leg like that.
Are you really?
Yes. What'd you do to mess that up?
Oh, I torn my Achilles tendon.
Huh?
And I was in a cast, but this is just a brace with some extra heel below, so that I don't hurt my tendon. But it's going really well. I was supposed to be in plaster still, had I listened to the doctors and had I listened to everybody else. But I'm walking, I'm swimming. I actually swam a quadruple marathon 2 weeks ago just on my arms. So there's a lot what you can still do if you don't believe the doctors and if you don't believe the so-called specialists, and if you have a strong mind. Doreen, if you, because what you asked me to talk about this, Ed, because I had a different topic,
Well, no, we'll get to your topic. It's all about women's rights, and of course, but
okay, but it's interesting because somehow because of all this, more people start to look at me differently, because it's an energetic thing, it's a mindset thing, it's listening to your own body thing. I do Reiki. Reiki is a healing energy with your hands, and I give Reiki like multiple times a day. People, Annette was there when this happened, so people have sent me healing from a distance, and I just healed really quickly. And everybody is like, "Well, this is not possible." My swim coach says, "No, you can't swim." The doctor says, no, you can't swim. The physiotherapist says, you shouldn't walk. You know, but I can. So,
and you did.
Yeah. And, you know, I learned another trick, and that is we all have a lot of stored energy in our body. And that's hidden within cells, and it's just not being used. So my coach told me, okay, ask your body, just ask, body, can you send all the stored energy that I don't need for my vital processes to survive to send to my foot to heal? And I did that when I was driving my car for the first time, because I wanted to help my daughter. She's relocating, and I was pissed off that I couldn't drive. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to, regardless what. And my foot started to become sore because I ended up in a traffic jam. So you need your foot a lot, you know. And I did this trick, and immediately the pain disappeared. So there's so much that you can do to heal yourself. And I was not aware of this. And I write about this. I blog about this, so people can, you know, on Polar Steps, they can send me an invite. And I think it's pretty interesting for other people to learn about it.
So I have to tell you that my life partner, Joanne, yesterday was in surgery. She had a hip replaced, and
Okay.
I'll be picking her up at the hospital later in my day today. And I think it's time for me to introduce you to her because she has much of the same mental strength, has been through a lot in her own life prior to us getting together 25 years ago. But she's looking forward, well, she was looking forward to, you know, some therapy and then walking. In fact, they already had her up walking 2 hours after the surgery ended yesterday. So she needs more therapy, of course. So your approach, your mental approach to mind control and applying that, laser energy, laser beam thinking, I'll make an introduction later.
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah, definitely.
Good.
Especially because she's your partner, your wife, or?
Yeah, well, we're not married, but.
Oh, okay, your partner. Yeah, definitely. Would love to get to know her.
But we've been together 25 years. So,
yeah.
And prior to that, we've each had failed marriages. So we decided this isn't working. There's something wrong. And so why get married? Who cares?
Yeah.
So we're living in sin.
Beautiful.
Okay, so let's talk. So Gary, what's doing in the retained executive search business? You must be super busy.
Well, first of all, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's really awesome to be here in this. Look at these smiles. This is fantastic in terms of this group here. I met most of you before. There's not a simple answer in terms of what's going on with executive search. Our focus is retained executive search, 100K level jobs and above. Most of our assignments would be in that 200 to 300K level, some smaller, some bigger, you know, some C-level, some manager director level. But just for further clarification, much of our work is done in the industrial products area. Number 2, aerospace and defense. 3, anything to do with consumer. And then the technology, nonprofit, et cetera. But what's going on in the executive search world, it really depends. You know, some companies are seeing this as an opportunity to replace those folks they put up with for a long time. They're probably C, B- performers, and yet they've just put up with them. The progressive companies are saying, look, and the ones that are performing super well. Why do I have to support this guy or gal when, you know, we could raise our bar, we could raise our level? So the companies that are proceeding with growth, with expansion, with improvements, they're replacing those folks. And they're getting very clear on what it is they need to have in the way of a background. You know, no longer is it, you know, my neighbor's uncle's friend's neighbor's kid knows somebody and maybe I ought to talk to them. But they're getting very deliberate on the kind of education background that you should have, the size of company that you ought to come from, and what the expertise should be as it relates to, you know, should have run a $50 million or $100 million P&L before, you know, should have been involved with a couple of acquisitions, should have been involved with divestitures, should have been involved with turnarounds. So depending on what your situation is, you know, those companies are being very deliberate about it. They also are being deliberate about what their boardroom should look like, what their executive room should look like. And if they glance at it now and it's too old, maybe it's too young, maybe it's all male or female, it's not as diverse as it should be, it's all white, they're starting to come to the realization that, you know, our customers, they don't have that one flavor. So why are we as a management team not diversifying and spreading that out? Just in the last few weeks, I mean, we yesterday started a CEO search. This for a local economic development corporation here in Santa Clarita. There are 51 members. Our lady CEO has been hired away by one of the big companies in the area, so it's a win for everybody. And so now we're stepping back and saying, what is it that we should find, you know, in a background? We've started a CFO search for a $500 million company. We've started a VP of HR search for $1.5 billion consumer products company. These are all within the last few weeks. So we have been busy, Ed. Even though your tech skills are lacking and I couldn't get on that call with our dear friend from the Ukraine. What's going on in the search business? Many are too slow to pull the trigger. They're trying to just, oh, we'll see what happens. Well, what happens is the paint dries and then it stays the very same way.
Okay, who wants to ask Gary a question?
Yeah, me. Gary, you and the companies who hire you, they put in a lot of efforts to create diverse teams. So they're also looking for women. Have you found out that a lot of the women within 2 years, they move because the culture in the company is not female friendly enough?
You know, we have not found that. In fact, in the last 2 years, half of our searches have resulted with women executives, women senior managers in those roles.
Yeah.
Now, big picture, there is a bigger demand than there is a supply of quality senior manager and C-level execs. Whether you be women, whether you be men, whether you be minority, whether you be over 50 or under 50, et cetera. But our clients are getting very well focused on what they want. The demand is there, but no, I'm pretty particular about he or she that thinks they have to move every year or two. I don't want my client to waste their money on that person because you're just going to be another notch on the gun. But no, I'm not seeing excessive turnover on that,
No,
Tinky.
okay.
I'm not.
No, it's not always that the person wants to move on all the time, but that it's not a female-friendly culture in the organization, why she feels inclined to move on because she cannot do what she's hired for, or there's games playing on. There's often teams that don't want to work with her, or when they have to, they all know, but there's these, you know, secret games playing. But maybe you're not so much aware because you don't work in the companies, you know, you talk to the department who hires and then you move on. But this is also something what I hear and see is that a lot of time and effort is put onto putting women in the right places in the C-level teams, but they don't stay. Not because they want to leave, but because they just don't like the culture. It's not female friendly enough.
Yeah, I would say that I think that applies to any new person that's coming into a company.
Yeah, okay.
It takes a lot of effort to properly integrate somebody into the team. And many times that change word is a 4-letter word. They get very cliquish, they get very close-minded about it. But relating to women on a team, I wouldn't single women out on a team as to whether more turnover would happen or they would not be friendly. I get close and personal to that executive, to that C-level, to that board team about what they really want. And if I'm doubtful that this is just a numbers game, I mean, I have to have 2 winners. If you're going to be the woman exec that's going on to a team, just because their numbers are bad, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay, we want to bring in Lachelle and Annette and welcome Mark Colo as well, and Doreen. Okay, Lachelle?
Hi, yeah, no, so I just wanted to ask you then, in terms of the education, can you expand on that and what some of the kind of critical things are that you're seeing from executive search and how is that playing a particular role? Is it more related to the university types of degrees? Because there are so many kind of random degrees out there as well now that people are inventing. You go to a school and, well, what do you want your degree to be in? And you can create that. So can you expand on kind of what you're looking for there?
Yeah, Lachelle, that's a great question. I want the company to do to themselves with an outside hire as to what they already have on their team. So what does that mean? If it takes a degree of any sort to get onto the team, somebody from the outside ought to have that degree. If they're looking for a top tier or a middle tier school, if they're looking for an MBA, the CFO search that we have for a major nonprofit, they have decided that, look, it has to be a bachelor's degree. Love to have an MBA, but just preferred. But we're going to stick with the fact that we have to have a CPA. That's what their board, that's what they're looking for. Some of my clients will give the top 20, 30 schools that they want to have a degree from. Otherwise, it basically doesn't count. The mail order degrees, to me, it's a joke, quite frankly. And if I'm stepping on any toes, sorry. I went to a school in person, and sure, it was a mid-tier school, but I didn't just phone it in and go to 3 classes a week and suddenly the degree happened.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions?
Yeah, okay, Annette and Doreen and me. So Annette first.
Yeah, thank you very much, Gary, for what you said. I would like to come back to what you said about this, what I say, not existing, maybe welcome culture. So in my opinion, it's really, it costs a lot of money to find people. And what would you suggest to a company to do to really also make the effort to integrate these people? Because when they leave after a short time, they once again have to pay the money to find a new member. And in my opinion, it's also that the consistency is not kind of guaranteed, even though there mustn't be a consistency. But on the other hand, in my opinion, it's quite good to have some person at least for maybe, let's say, 5 years, so that they won't leave too soon. What would you tell these companies what they could do to kind of really welcome new employees?
I think mentors are a big deal. Get a mentor of somebody that's got some juice in the company, somebody that is well regarded. Maybe he or she might be the backup to be the next CEO, might be part of the executive team. Crazy example, but this is a long time ago. I worked for a period of 10 to 12 years, first with Citibank, then Security Pacific. Security Pacific has long since been acquired by B of A. We were hiring 30 to 40 MBAs and bachelor's degree folks each year from 10 or 15 college campuses. And the good old boys and a few of the good old girls there didn't like that. Well, we said, look, we have a way for you to like that. Those bonuses they had were in the 50 to 100K range. You lose your person, you lose your bonus. You figure it out. We're serious. We want to have, a change of attitude. We want to have the new blood. We want to have folks that can really get, I think you have to be serious about this. The punishment of it, is probably the wrong way. Good morning, Paul. I'm glad you finally got up, sir. You wrote another 18 books here over the weekend.
Good morning, Gary. Hi, everybody.
Good morning. The mentoring, the integration, the team talks about it. Invite that member into an executive team, be a project presenter, get them involved, make sure they're value add. Those are some ideas I would use.
Okay, let's go quickly to Doreen and then welcome Paul Falcone. I know, Paul, you have a time constraint. Doreen.
Gary, this could be a very simple yes or no answer if you want, but
yes, the answer is yes.
Oh, good. Okay, I'll connect with you separately. I was just interested in knowing if you have any connection with the experience of the churn that these guys and women go through at the end of an assignment when they're crossing, global cultures, and where you would recommend looking for the statistics on that.
I don't have a ready answer on that. Let's talk offline. I have to think about that.
Yes, let's. Thank you very much, Gary.
A pleasure.
Hey, Paul, welcome.
Hi, Ed. Good morning, everybody. How are you? Sorry, I had some technical glitches logging on this morning.
Yeah, me too. But it comes with my territory, I believe. Okay, and let's welcome Mark Colo. Hey, Mark, say hi.
Hi, my glitches were mental, if anything. I have my PD latch on excuse. I can always. There's a PD moment.
PD. What's PD?
Parkinson's disease.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, shaken.
That fallback. I use it all the time.
Yeah, shaken, not stirred. Right.
Shaken, not stirred.
Right. Okay. Let's get right back to you, Paul. Do you happen to have any of your books handy you can hold up to the camera? So Paul Falcone is a major person in the field of HR, CHRO, for many years, based in LA. And still is in LA, but very many years in the entertainment industry, media, at the very top levels of human resources, people, leadership, and development. And he's written 16 books, or is it 17?
16 as of September, Ed. 17 is on my computer right now. It's not ready yet.
Okay, so one of the more recent ones that I have, you gave me, I don't know, where is it here? It's behind me somewhere. First-time managers. And that's like a little thin book, but it's got like every page is just loaded with tips and practical insight.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. No, that's nice. What happened was last year, HarperCollins, my publisher, came out with a new 5-book series. And they called it the Paul Falcone Workplace Leadership Series. I was very honored. It was nice that they used my name in the title. But they wanted to have something that you can fit in the back of your pocket as far as these books. And they were meant to be short, like 125 pages each, not a typical 300-page book. But there were 5 of them. So it was a 750-page deliverable for me. It was the biggest project I've ever written. But anyway, one of them is on new leaders and new managers. And the idea is just teach them the how. I think they all know what. They've all been to the video training on what they're supposed to do. They just don't know how to open the can of worms. And so that's always been what I'd like to think is the success of my books, is just teaching people how to have the tougher conversation, how to document, how to interview specific types of roles, sales versus accountants versus administrative support staff. And Ed, thank you. Yeah, that's the new one that's coming out in September. It's part of the First Time Manager series, and it's called Leading Through Crisis.
As you can see, it's just, yeah, I mean, this is just a wealth of information here. Anyway,
it's very wealthy, Ed. Yes, thank you for that. And, well, the funny thing is the publisher said to me, Paul, what's the topic of the day? And I said, crisis. I said, all of us feel like our hair's on fire, we're chasing our tails, and the crises never end. And they're all over us, and they're in our personal lives, they're in our business world. So that was the topic. So that one comes out in September. So wish me luck on that one.
So in your years of Hollywood exposure, you didn't have anything to do with casting friends, right? But everything connected behind the camera then.
Yeah, that was Warner Brothers. I was Paramount and NBC. But yeah, but the thought would be typically we work with the productions, but not in front of the camera. Those are called the above the line people. We work with the below the line people, which is typically your production people and development and everyone else in that space.
We only have above the line people on the screen here today.
Correct.
Yes.
That would be, we are all above the line. Yes. Well, no, seriously, those are not just the actors, those are the talent creators. You know, those are the writers, the producers and the directors. So yeah, it's kind of sort of for our world. I would like to think that many of us are content producers, so we would be above the line. You are correct.
Yeah, content. That's right. So Mark Colo, I think you have met Mark Colo before. Mark and I have known each other a number of years from the relocation industry, but he has written 2 books. One of them is called Living with Parkinson's, and the other one is about the noble and the great. Or do I have that backwards?
Oh, we can,
because of your virtual family behind you, we cannot see the book.
See it? Okay, all right. I'm sure that would fit or not.
Yeah, but anyway, Mark is a very, very, very aggressive guy, meaning in a nice way that he is just like Tineke, mind control over matter. Mark has developed a way of dealing with his disease, affliction, Parkinson's. And one of the ways he's done so well with it, or highly regarded by others, is that he's formed with others a foundation, 501(c) or C3, whatever it is, it's legal and kosher. It's to help. It's called findneurohelp.org. And you've got some other foundation, right?
We do. We started out, Ed, with Find Cures. That was the name I came up and branded for the company. And it was accepted well by the science community and all the scientists that I've relocated over my career. I've moved to over 100 research scientists in the course of my career. And every one of them on the cusp of finding something marvelous to address some horrible disease of sort. But it's just a great, great academic circle that I've been able to build over the last, I'd say, half decade of my career. Started with one gentleman named Howard Federoff. He was one of my first gentlemen that I relocated. He graduated from Albert Einstein University. I don't know how you even qualify to go in the door there at Albert Einstein. I don't know, but he's one of those bright and brilliant ones. And he and I have become very good friends. And I first was asked to help him with his relocation by a client named UC Irvine. And I worked with UC Irvine for many years. And my client said, Mark, I got an executive scientist. I've got to move here from Georgetown. Nothing can go wrong with this relocation. It's got to go flawless. If you blow it, I'm going to lose my job. And she was an HR director in a purchasing role. And I didn't want to disappoint her. So I pulled out all the stops on that one. And so when I first called Howard, I asked him my favorite question, which I ask all my senior executives. I said, what's your biggest concern about this relocation? And then I went silent and just listened. He said, Mark, I'm glad you asked that question. I have 14 cryogenic freezers with 40,000 brain samples of people who passed away with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. It's my life's work. He said, the temperature in those freezers cannot go up or down by more than 3 degrees or it'll compromise my samples. I need your guarantee, Mark, that won't happen. Well, I know the moving industry. I know it well. I was in it for 40 years and it's fraught with human error. So I was a little bit nervous when he was saying all these things, but I'm happy to report he got out here in great shape. Not a single thing was out of order, not a single thing missing. And it went off without a hitch. And I can say the same for the other 100 scientists that I've been able to relocate over my last decade, half decade of my career. But back to your question on foundations, we started out writing checks to these departments, these different departments in the research field, and we started writing checks to find that cure for Parkinson's and Alzheimer's primarily. Then we expanded to other diseases. There are other neural diseases. There's technically about 4 ways that people exit the planet here, and they're called the 4 horsemen. One is diabetes. You can leave from that. You can go from cancer. You can go from neurodegenerative diseases. And you can exit by diabetes. I don't know if I said that one or not. I don't think I did. But there's 4 of them basically that you can exit by. And we don't know nearly as much as we should know about any one of those 4. But we're getting closer bit by bit with the neurodegenerative diseases. So I'm hoping to see some progress there. Needless to say, to answer your question, Ed, in a very roundabout way, we finally decided that we really want to help the individual that's battling this condition. We want to help that individual. It became about quality of life to us versus finding a cure. There's a lot of big companies out there, a lot of people with deep pockets who can write big checks to find that cure, but we want to get down to where the rubber meets the road and start helping individuals that actually have these challenges live with them and give them a better quality of life. I mean, we had one young lady that we helped. She had a son that had autism, brilliant son. He could make these paper mache images that you see in Disneyland, the castle and other buildings, just amazing talent. And he wanted to go finish his education in college. His wife or his mother stopped working because she couldn't afford to work anymore. So she was supporting her young son with autism. To make a long story short, we were able to help the mother go back and finish her school. We paid for her books, her tuition. We got her through her education. She went to the same college as her son at the same time. And she wrote a letter like one I've never read before. When she wrote that letter to our foundation and said, Mark, that was unbelievable. I was down, destitute. No one was going to be able to help me. And our foundation helped him, Ed. And that was just a marvelous thing to see.
Way to go. So I want to also say that through Mark, I've been able to develop contacts with some of the doctors and research scientists, including Dr. Paula, who's head of the National Stem Cell Foundation. And she was a guest on what Mark and I have called Global Medical TV Talk Show. It's a series of interviews with leading scientists working on neurodegenerative stuff. So real quickly here, and to sum up, we did this TV talk show, medical TV talk show host with Dr. Paula, and she talked about stem cell research. And on the program was Jana from a space
Axiom
station company called Axiom, AXIOM, which is based at the Space Center in Houston. They're building the first commercial space station, which will be commercialized, meaning companies are investing in it. And medical research will be a major element up there because of zero gravity. So Dr. Paula and I and Mark and Jana, we had this discussion. And if anyone wants to get a copy of that program, it's free, I'll send it over. They talk about how being in zero gravity, just up in the space station, enables much more penetration studies into brain research. I blew that, didn't I, Mark?
No, but the results are supposedly going to be far more accurate doing it in a zero gravity environment versus trying to do something here on Earth with the cumbersome challenges of gravity. So makes sense. Yeah. Makes sense. And they've got an inroad to do that. So we're really excited to see that develop.
Yeah, so you and your board developed this thing called the Perimeter of Hope, which is the allocation of resources to help the families of the victims.
Yeah, we did. We came up with the perimeter of hope. It was our brainchild that we came up with, but it just took a series of things that people that when they have these neurological conditions find it very difficult to navigate. And one simple area is finance. An average family with an individual that has a chronic illness will spend 25% of their income on the disease itself, treating that patient, that individual. So that puts a bit of a bind on the entire family. And many of these family members just roll up their sleeves and they do what they have to do, but it is a tremendous financial burden for these families to make it through and make all these adjustments. So we made this perimeter of hope, and it goes around a number of different things: real estate, finance, medical concerns, well, all the major concerns that are really at a focal point for these individuals and their loved ones. And so we tried to fund those and grow those and build our network of resources for it. It's still ongoing. We're still working on that.
Yeah, well, congratulations. Anyway, I'm really happy to be able to help promote awareness to the business community of findneurohelp.org. Let's go again to Paul. I want you to meet Angie Weinberger, who's a client and also a member of the Global Press Club. And she has a company called Global People Transitions. And she and I have done a series of programs focusing in on Angie's goal is to find more opportunities for people of color and spouses and minorities, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think, Paula, we might have met already at a Bahrain conference about 3 years ago, if I remember correctly.
I think so, Angie, you're right.
Yeah. So I would like to move forward, and I think that might be interesting for some of you, with supporting more the marginalized talent. And I cover them all under the expression rainbow talent now. Like, as you see, we all have different colors here. I think the rainbow expresses it maybe a bit better than if you think about every single marginalized group. I'm thinking about refugees, I'm thinking about women, I'm thinking about people of color, LGBTQIA+ professionals. And especially in the context of global mobility, I think they are even further behind than in the general, let's say, career progression in HR. And that's mainly because of a lot of bad assumptions or biased assumptions that we have in global mobility about the support we can provide. For example, a reason often not to send a gay couple to certain countries would be, it's difficult as a gay couple to live in that country. It's difficult to get support for immigration. And that, yes, might be true in some locations, but it's not always true for every location. And sometimes we also have wrong perceptions, and they're just, I would say, they don't make a lot of sense most of the time. So, I really think we need to be getting better at helping those groups. And I'm in favor of actually having metrics and data and quota to help more marginalized groups to get access to international assignments, have international career opportunities, and basically reduce those biases by training also senior managers to understand better that, if they don't allow people to go on these opportunities, if they don't support marginalized groups, they will also always fall behind on equity, on salary, on any type of career opportunities, basically, because the exposure that they need for senior positions is actually missing. So that's been something I've been promoting heavily. And I think it's also important that we train our leaders to be more inclusive in general. So I think that's a general truth. But I think especially in mobility, as we can support, we need to support that. And we need to also ask our vendors. We need to ask in our own ranks, we need to see that we support minority groups more. Because you probably noticed that, you know, on the sort of lower career level in global mobility, we have a lot of women, we have a lot of gay people, we have a lot of marginalized people from marginalized groups. But as soon as we go up the career ladder, white men, haha. So yeah, I just really want to raise your awareness to the topic. And I'm also thinking about changing traffic. For example, you know, right now we might see more, for example, Indian single women, Muslim women who want to move from India, let's say, to France. And I think that should be the most normal thing to do. But because of misconception, they might have a harder time than, let's say, a couple, or a more senior professional who's a man. So I think as providers, we need to take extra care, but also there's a lot of small steps we can take. And I think we can think big and start with small things. That's basically my pitch for today.
Thank you, Angie. We're going to get back to you because you have a take as well about spouses and accompanying partners, women, and the 3 I's. That you come up with a slogan, the 3 I's that afflict accompanying spouses, loneliness, isolation, etc. But first I want to go to Ash and Annalisa. Let's do a duo here if we can, Ash. Tell us about your organization, 90210. It certainly is Beverly Hills, but it's not the TV show. It's about networking and strategy, right?
It's actually networking. It's a trick question because my background comes from networking at a company called Higher Connections, and we had 49 verticals in those 10 years. And you know, we helped out many people, but at the end of the day, I noticed that one thing is missing: the relationship. So, example, today here we have 11 wonderful souls here. Do you know that if every single one of us follow up and have a very intense focus to get a relationship, just what will happen from this circle? Do you have any idea what I can do with this circle? Just with this 11. So what we do in 90210, we don't do networking. We do the work that, as you guys know, as Gary knows, C-level, people do not give a cat's whatever about the work that anybody does. Unfortunately, people these days are only after net. They're looking for, when they're clear, of course, then, you know, and there are some people who are, you know, they need coaching, maybe, you know, something for them, for their organization, for their service. They're in search, but that's different. But when they're clear, they do not care about what's the next system, the app. They care about the bottom line. And as the AI is coming and all the new social media growing, guess what? The net focus gets smaller. So our company has brought the traditional approach that if you want to talk to somebody, you know, don't just go to their LinkedIn, you know, like today, call them, talk to them. Like here, I haven't met some of you. I already have a person for Annette that she needs to meet. Probably for each of you, already have a name in front of your name that you're going to meet. And, you know, that comes with experience and that comes with care, because when here Marco Colo came here today, he doesn't want to meet his friends that is here. He has a 501c double, and he has something for himself, for his organization, could be pro or foundation and services. He wants to connect to the right people to serve more, to help more. And I'm sure, you know, Gary here, I have somebody for you. People are here, and I love this platform. You know, I've been part of 3, 4, 5 kind of a conversational, but not like this. So first of all, congratulations, Edwin. And now I see why Annalisa was raving about you and Dr. Powers. So what we do in 90210 network, it's very simple. We, like you guys can be part of it. We have experts, masters, gurus. And people ask me, what's the difference between an expert, master, and a guru? When you say I'm an expert at, I'm a master, I mastered that. So it says out. A guru is something that they have become it. Right? So they have done it so much, they don't need to say anything. They're with it. You know, like here, I see Paul Falcone. I can already tell him by his face, he's a guru. And again, this is my area. Okay, so you guys don't need to worry how I know.
Well,
So,
Ash, don't be fooled. Sometimes, their face may, in fact, just have come from a lineup.
by the way,
We don't really know that about Paul.
So thank you, Edwin. In Non-Toronto Network, we are the destination to the next thing you want. Whether it's, and you could be a master, and you just all of a sudden wake up and say, oh my God, I forgot to do something for me. Oh, my organization is now at 100 million and I forgot, oops, to have a foundation. Or is it my services are too many, or I want to reduce my services? So what we do, we are the next call. We are the next thing. And between us and the next thing, there's nothing. As soon as we get you, your organization, and your service, guess what? You have that person. And it happens fast, and sometimes they're not ready for me or what I do. And said, you asked me, so don't ask me. I have a box of business cards here, and that's from the past 2 years. I still went to events here in Beverly Hills, and but what those business cards gonna do? So my thing for you today is take everybody's names, everyone, and go to LinkedIn, send a 2-line, thank you, Edwin Cohen, that invited me here today. Say, you don't need to say so much, because LinkedIn is perfect. It's like, wow. So you say, I am, right? I do, and I want. Or I am, I do, and I'm here to serve you for. And when you do that clarity, and by the way, I have every single one names already. I have every single one of you on the checklist already with your name, number, and LinkedIn. And again, I wanted to come here to serve Edwin. Okay, I love what I do. I'm right now we have a double event that is happening with Master Lee that brought Annalisa today. I wanted to come here to really serve Edwin. Why? Because Edwin respects Dr. Forrest Natalie, right? And whoever respects my friend, my partner, Dr. Forrest Natalie, he has my support. And again, each one of us, there's no ego, right? But in my area, that's why I don't have titles anymore. I'm Ashcombe with a K to all my friends, and I'm very easy. But when I come in business, we cannot make mistakes. When somebody comes to us like Mark Colo, I want to introduce him to Barry Shore. When you introduce, you cannot miss. It takes 2 seconds on LinkedIn. You put intro, put name, hi, boom. Last night, you know what I did? And I finished with this because I want to give the thing to Annalisa as a duo. Last night, I was drawn. I have 3 problems. My son got this crazy rash that probably I cannot make either of my privileges. And these are privileges. Sometimes we are benefit privilege. Today's privilege to be here. And I have 9 o'clock also with Master Lee. So 3 things. First of all, I cannot go both. And my son is like practically 14 and looks like, oh God. But you know what? I said, I'm going to ask my sister to come and watch my son. And I texted, I said, I feel bad to Master Lee that I cannot go. It's a privileged private group. So what I'm going to do? Well, Edwin invited me before. So I told Master Lee, I'm sorry, I love you. I'm going to go meet with Anneli and Cohen. So that's that. But you know what I did? Because I felt bad, right? I made a group. I put Edwin, Anneli, Dr. Forrest that invited me to Edwin and here. And I put Master Lee, Lee Conway and Dr. all in a group, and they started talking. So that's my thing. Today, one of the topics I'm supposed to talk is relationship. You know how you make a relationship? You have to want nothing first when you talk to somebody. You have to care about who they are, what they do, what they want, or actually they don't want something, they want to give. You need to know that. It's very simple to know. When you know, and it's not everything for relationship. Look, Gary, they pay him to go find a CFO, CEO. He cannot make relationships. He has to go find, otherwise they're gonna shoot him. But as when you come to these settings, these kind of settings, it's just you need to have no ulterior motive. And guess what happens? There is such a powerful nuclear energy in creating relationships. I made one relationship last year in September, and that person brought me to Mark with a K, Mark with a C. Mark with a C brought me to Lee Conway. Lee Conway brought me to Annalisa, and then Annalisa is here to see all of you guys. So always care about relationship, and like your wives, like your children, like your brothers. Do you have to make all of relationships in business? No. You have a number. You love 7, you like 9, you like 10, you like 12, whatever you want. Your first circle is the most important, not in personal, for your business. those people, if let's say your number, Annette, your number is 10, let's say, the 10 people around you, they are the one who are gonna lift you up, or they're gonna inhibit you for your next thing. Those 10 people become very selfish, like Jesus, right? So you need to make sure those first 10, don't be nice, right? If they are in line with you, they have that 10. Otherwise, you have your second circle is 100. Push them to your second, or third is 1,000. I'm sure every single one of you, you can reach your 10, 100, 1,000. And after 10,000, we use mass, database like telephones or emails. So make relationships, not connections. And guess what happens? You can be, again, part of another group like this that can change your life again. Back to Annalie.
I'm just going to take myself off mute there. Fantastic. Ashkan, how can I follow that? So I wanted to pick up on a few things. You mentioned we don't have any ego, and about serving. And I saw in that as well that that value of humility. And these are all characteristics that we need to work on as leaders. And when Angie was talking, she was talking about the refugees, women, colour, LGBTQ. And as she was talking, I was thinking about the leaders of our nations. Some of those leaders, I'm afraid, have been very uncomplimentary of those groups. And I'm afraid that they have set low standards in corporate. They've set low standards for captains of industry, not for those ones who have optimal values at their core. The ethical ones will disassociate themselves from that kind of leadership. But the ones who are of poor character, shall we say, will see that leadership as giving them permission to copy and mirror and emulate. And we have to bring our leadership up. Mark, and that value of noble, noble leadership, honorable leadership. Where have these values gone? There was once a time where leadership was dignified and statesmanlike, and we seem to have gone backwards with it. Paul mentioned crises. He said that there's one crisis after another. We have crises in our personal lives. And we see leaders from, we had over here, the Confederation of British Industry recently, the president having to apologize because of the toxic culture there. We've had the chairman of the BBC having to step down because of conflicts of interest that weren't declared. We've had politicians having to step down. We've had PricewaterhouseCoopers and all of that, blowing up and bringing the names, into disrepute, the brands into disrepute. And when leadership falls because of poor character, it brings the whole organization down around with it. All the stakeholders suffer. So going back to what Paul was saying about personal crises, you can't bring your best self to your leadership if you don't have peace in your personal life. If you're courting disaster in your personal life, that's going to disrupt your leadership. And you can't bring peace to your personal life if you don't have peace at work. You can't bring peace to the workplace if you're not at peace with yourself. So we have to work on valuing that value of peace and nurturing it. There was something else that somebody else said as well that I wanted to pick up on. I'm just going to refer to my notes here. Let's have a look. I can't find it right now. but I want to cultivate leaders who are going to be channels. I believe that I have a mandate, a divine mandate to cultivate leaders who are going to be channels of healing in this world, of compassion and of reconciliation. And these are the leaders that we need at the highest level to set the standards for everybody else. And so that's what I'm on a mission to accomplish.
A mandate. Yeah.
A mandate.
Yeah, I see that. So Annette, you have your hand up here. and Lachelle. So Annette?
I was mainly nodding. So that what you just said, Annalisa, is what I mean with love and peace in companies. Because if I love myself and if I'm peaceful inside of me, then I'm much more peaceful and loving with all the other persons working in a company and being around me. And it's not only a corporate issue, but also a private one. And I totally agree with you. If I don't have peace inside of me, how will there be peace on earth? And I really think that I know so many companies who don't have peace inside. And people are working 8 hours a day or even longer in a company, and then they come home completely exhausted with let's say, I don't say if I can call this a culture, but let's say with the atmosphere in this company. And sometimes in my opinion, this atmosphere is kind of toxic. And if I bring this toxicity to my home in the evening, how will I have a nice evening with my loved ones? So I would go with you on the streets immediately. So I would say that my mission is really the same. And we've already been corresponding about this on LinkedIn. And I also love your slogan. So thank you very, very much, Annalisa.
All right, so now I want to go to Lachelle and then to Tineke. And I have to let in Sandra here 1 second. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble technically. Okay, I got it. Sorry. Okay, so Lachelle.
All right. So actually, I was just kind of clapping to what Annalise was saying, and I think kind of tying some things back together. I mean, Tineke, I think, when we think about our own personal journey, how does that tie to our peace as well? So I think that there's, where we find those connections, those authentic relationships, where we find our authentic self, there's so much of that ties to it. I think that, on my own personal journey, and Angie, when you were speaking, it was kind of definitely hitting on my journey in the last year plus, because I lost my job in the end of January of 2022. And Ed's been extremely gracious in kind of getting me in front of some people and networking. And I picked up a project work that worked out great. I was pretty happy with that. It ended early. So now I'm kind of in the what's next? Where do I want to go next? What do I want to do next? How do I want to take my years of global mobility services and my personal experience, whether it's thinking through, am I going to be a future book writer? Who knows, Ed? You just keep bringing these people on that inspires me. But I think, listening to all of you, there's just so many things that touch on, where do each of us go for our next journey, and what does that look like? And I think that's where I enjoy these meetings, because you all inspire me to kind of think about what's next, and I get a chance to meet with a number of different people. I'm still really focused on the education side of global mobility, and what would that look like? Because there's so many people who jump into the career without really having a base knowledge in it. And so, how do we get people to really understand, not only the critical pieces of it, but are they in the right field? Do they bring the right level of empathy? Can they really take on that burden to say, like Mark did, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to make sure that doesn't drop below 3 or go above 3. You can count on me. I'm going to get you there. So this is, where you look at that personal happiness and the authentic self, and do they bring it to the right space? So it's not only training people, but it's also, do you have the right kind of personality for mobility? Making sure people think about those kinds of things. So I don't know. I have no idea where my journey is going to take me next, but you guys are all inspiring me. So we'll see what's next.
Okay, and now I want to quickly tie some things up. Some of you have to depart soon, I know. So Doreen, I want you to meet Sandra Corona, who's just joined us from Saudi Arabia.
Hi, Sandra.
So Sandra, I'd like you to use the chat, and Doreen, use the chat to connect with Sandra, because you have in common Saudi Aramco and being an expat. So Doreen, you have been repatriated multiple times, and now you and your husband are professional house sitters and dog sitters. And Sandra's
we're not professional. We do that for fun.
Oh, okay.
No money.
Yeah, but you had a really good time there. Was it Guadalajara or someplace like that?
Well, we live in San Miguel de Allende.
Yeah, San Miguel de Allende.
And that's our home. Right. We sold everything in the US. After planning for 30 years overseas to retire to the US and being here for 10 years, we never did quite fit. It never fit. We were just like tumbling. My husband is a TCK, third culture kid, intercultural. I'm an ATCK. And the fact is that the more exposure we all have to traveling and global mobility, the more we change and have a different perspective when we come back. And so we finally decided, after exploring the world as pet sitters, where would we love to live that had the most sense of freedom and possibility and creativity? And as a writer on expatriate subjects and global mobility and how to transition interculturally, it just felt best to be at home. So now our home base is Mexico.
Okay, now Sandra and her husband are going to be repatriated back to Texas in the next year or so, and they're beginning to deal with that reality. So I don't need you to I'm not exploiting you guys here, so you can use the chat and connect privately.
We will.
But Sandra, if you'd like to make a comment, I also want to introduce you both to my friend Tineke Renson, who has her own businesses. One of them is called Powerful Business Academy, and so I'd like you to talk about that. She's also an outspoken leader about women's rights and has a deep experience over the years being an athlete, and also as you heard earlier, most definitely self-motivating mind control expert. So Tineke, well, I've talked too much here. Why don't you just sum up about the feminine male axis that we have talked about previously? You're on mute.
Thank you for the new word, the mind control expert. I need to write that down. Well, you know, the topic of my contribute to this meeting was don't blame the white old men. That's something that women do love to do, is blaming and you know, the old boys network, the white old men, they get bashed for everything and anything nowadays. Whilst there's also a part where I think and feel we should honor what they have achieved before women started entering the arena. Now, I'm not saying they should continue doing what they always did. Don't get me wrong, but they don't know any better. So what we need to do is start to get them on board, start to educate them, start to train them. And Gary, that is what I'm doing, so that they don't feel threatened anymore, and use the games they've been using, because that's masculine. Masculine is competing, is diminishing. That's the low masculine. Competing can be both. Depends how you look at it. Women don't like to compete. The feminine, so it's men and women can be masculine or feminine, but versus competition is collaboration. That's a feminine trait. Versus logical mind is intuition. Now, intuition is something which is very difficult to grasp. A lot of men say it's my gut feeling, and it becomes popular. It is something that most women are born with. Yet it's because it's not proven, there's no data, you cannot put it in a spreadsheet, which are all masculine, it's controlling. It's not valued as much, but it is highly important. So there's just so much misunderstanding between the masculine and feminine, and they both work, they're both needed. And it's proven over and over where teams have men and women collaborating and understanding, every division in the company grows. Less people get sick, turnover grows, clients are more happy. So it's just a necessity nowadays that men and women collaborate and work together. And it doesn't work to start blaming those who have created the whole economy for us. That's not the right way, in my opinion. So that's what I wanted to express. And with my Powerful Business Academy, I help business women scale and grow their businesses.
Now,
So
what about She Credit? She Credit.
Oh, She Credit. That's the charity where I spend my free time. I'm the president of She Credit in the Netherlands. And She Credit is a credit union where we help business women find funding to scale their businesses. Because it's unfortunately also proven that women do get less funding, do get less growth capital to scale and grow their business. And it's proven that mixed teams work better. It's not proven yet, but it's my firm belief that when women build bigger businesses, also the business arena will become more mellow, less competitive. Women always search for what can I contribute to the world? What can I improve to the world? And third or fourth on the list is the money. So it's never a goal for a woman to make as much money. And I think that's, and women, all the women I coach, they want to change the industry because they see what's lacking in their industry. And that's why they want to contribute. But they cannot do that on their own. They cannot do that with a small business because they're not taken seriously by the big male business owners. So they have to stand up and build bigger businesses.
Ed, may I ask the question?
Not yet. So Anna, one second. So Annalisa, please communicate with Tineke, use the chat. Tineke, I'm not going to divulge anything here publicly, but you need to get to know Annalisa. She's in an excellent position to perhaps be of assistance to you, and you can be of assistance to her. Gary, I'm sorry.
You're not sorry. Tineke, would you expand on your comment, women don't like to compete?
The feminine. So man and feminine is not about competition. Competition is about winning. And when you win, there's one winner, there's one victor, and the rest, what happens with the rest? So the feminine is we're all in, we're all together. It's our achievement. Nobody's better, nobody's worse. Yeah. And there are a lot of men who have adopted this trait because women are entering the space for many years already. So it is slowly changing. So a lot of men are now investing in their feminine skills and traits. And I'm really sorry, but I have to leave. My hairdresser is there.
Let me add for Tineke. Tineke, we connect people and we connect channels. So I'm going to give you, thanks to Edwin, please write down, because you said she
credit. Yeah, She Credit. Two words.
I'm going to give you this channel that's going to change your life. And today is women empowerment. And all the women that the empowerment and equity men, write it down too. There's a company called, there's a global group called G100.
Yeah, I know them.
Oh, good. And oh, perfect. And so for the ones who don't know, the G100 is started by a doctor in India. She has 4 global ladies forum. I'm on the advisory on Germany, and they have 250,000 women. And also for men, if you like Edwin, when you are good with woman equity, they like to have you as a denim advisor. So the reason that I bring that up, there are a lot of associations that you get in, but they're not sure what they're doing. But with this particular group, if you get in, there's 3 things you're going to have: women empowerment and equity, and they're all over the world. They have many chapters, many thousands. And the people that I have met there, I have met prime ministers, I have met senators, I met people who just want to serve. So it's one of the best channels of networking that I'm part of. I'm part of 100. So G100, and then they have actually she also, like you have, like how you say she, they also have a she division. So if you know them, make sure you check with Dr. Forrest. Dr. Forrest that invited me here with Edwin, and Natalie is the head of the Germany. Make sure you connect. And sometimes you might be part of an association. Sometimes you might know somebody, we might know organization, but the question is, do we really know the person, or do we know the organization, or just because we have it, we take it for granted? So that's wanted to bring that to.
Yeah, thank you, Ash. Dr. Natalie Forrest is in Hamburg. She's been a speaker at our live events in Washington, D.C. when she was in the U.S. Now she's back home in Germany, and she has been on many of our programs. And she is going to be our opening keynoter on July 11 in a talk show similar to this, virtual, worldwide, on the idea of global tech talent and the advent of AI impacting everyone. And we have an AI expert who will be on the show also. All right, we have about 15 minutes remaining. Actually, we can go all day, but I think we need a break. So please continue personally beyond this program. Paul, thank you for hanging out with us. I know you got to get going soon. Is there something you want to end up with?
No, I changed my schedule for you, Ed.
Oh,
I'm fine.
my God. Wow.
I'm good.
What a blessing.
I'm loving this conversation, everybody. It is a fabulous, fabulous group of people, and very proud to be part of it. Yeah,
that's really nice. Okay. Sandra, I really enjoyed that conversation we had yesterday. And I was a little concerned, not only because the dog's howling, but also we were very casual. We had a wonderful conversation as if we were in a cafe having a wine, but it was my morning, and it's too early for me to have wine, but it was that kind of a spirit. And you're in Saudi, which is 10 hours for me, so but we talked about, if we just want to sum up a little bit, we talked about expatology, as you can see the name of her business, the study of expats and everything connected with it. But what we talked about as well was how companies, the question, should companies pay assignees a bonus above and beyond for doing work above and beyond what's expected? And the other thing that we talked about was, should a destination services provider who's where the rubber meets the road in the relocation industry, who they get beat up sometimes by all sides, and are they paid enough? So Sandra, do you want to add 30 seconds to that before we move on?
Yes. So for me, in my opinion, I told Ed, I don't think we need to go above and beyond, like give extra money or bonuses, because we already have in the companies the mid-year bonus, the end of the year bonus. A good company will give you stock in the company. And then on top of that, you have your salary increase. So you have 4 things, right? And I think that if you go beyond that, then add into it training. I think you get more out of training. If you're looking to have a higher increase, a higher bonus, and so on, then train me. Send me to this project. Send me to learn about this and that and that and that. I think that will compensate more than money. Again, considering if the company provides those 4 things that I mentioned before.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay, Doreen, you're an expat, historically, author of a couple of books and years of experience. Sandra is not a younger version because you're both unique, but is a different end of the spectrum. And I would like to get your take on the expat experience and what we're talking about here.
My take?
Yeah.
Okay. We have generational expats. So let's call them, I would call them almost the historically elite. I hate that title, but there are expatriates who have been around the globe and done 4, 5, 6 decades, not years, but decades of international corporate moves. Then you have the next generation, which is the Gen Zs, and they have a bit less, and they're, we're seeing a little bit more flexibility, some innovations start to happen because the baby boomers, we baby boomers are sort of sifting out of that. And then we have people who are just jumping into it, and they're jumping into it in many different ways. We have corporations, we have independent contractors, we have global nomads, people who know the global business. They understand global mobility. They understand what is being asked of them in terms of the personal sacrifices and the price that they will pay to move their lives overseas. We have this perspective that you put your body on a plane and your stuff on a cargo ship and it all shows up and happy families, which is very, very, I think, irresponsible and very superficial. It doesn't talk about authentic relationships. It doesn't talk about rainbow talent. It doesn't talk about any of the things that we've discussed here today. And then, of course, we have all the digital, we have the digital nomads. We have the Gen Zs and the Gen X, the Gen Z and the digital nomads. And I was just looking at some statistics. Since all of these people have been traveling, and were 10.2 million more just from the US in 2021, 11.1 million more in 2022. And there overall was 131% increase in digital nomads from prior to the pandemic. Now that means there's a lot of people traveling in a lot of different ways. And as humans, we're very resourceful, we're very innovative, we're finding new ways to do things, particularly with technology and AI, and the future is wide open. My current book that I'm writing is Life in the Re-Entry Lane. And basically it's there should be a warning sticker on global mobility because there is a price to pay for it that most of us are not aware of or conscious of. And this book is about how to do it with great aplomb and more ease, I hope. So I think that the global mobility field is fascinating and diverse and multicultural, and there's so much happening. One of the other things I'd just like to mention in closing is that we don't always pay attention to the consequences. I think there are expectations and there are lots of unintended consequences for moving your life and your family overseas. We cannot see around corners. But one of the unintended consequences that we're finding is that children who are raised overseas, who become third culture kids, actually have more trauma and are 1,200% more likely to commit suicide. So we're starting to get statistics about the costs of this lifestyle. Now, to me, that's a pretty shocking statistic. 1,200% more likely than a monoculture. That is a person who lives and grows up in their culture forever. So there's lots of statistics coming out. I could talk about it all day. I'm really here to answer questions, to support you all in your version of what global mobility is for you and your way forward in this exciting community that builds heart-centeredness across the globe. I call it global heartedness. So thanks for having me this morning, Ed, and thanks for linking hands together to support the population who has the guts and the willingness to do this.
Thank you, Doreen, and I'll leave it to you guys to communicate. And I certainly welcome you to come back on Global TV to talk about your book. And I could see why you were such a successful diplomat in earlier life. So I also want to say that yesterday, my conversation with Sandra yesterday, it was wide-ranging, and if you all want to get it, just let me know, send me a chat, and I'll shoot it out to everybody. But we talked about deceit. We talked about the need to cover CYA. You know, this is a G-rated show, so but but the idea is that, you know, communications between the expat, me and the expat family on assignment with somebody at headquarters somewhere who doesn't get what it's like to be on assignment and on a limited, on a tight rope or a tight leash, and being restricted, and the lack of clarity or honesty in communications, and how it's parallel lines rather than a together thing. Sandra, did I say that correctly?
Yes, you did. You did.
Okay,
it sounds about right. You know, deceit, it's to start with, nobody wants to deceive. Now, I know that saying deceit is a very strong word, but it's really about, you know, not being transparent and clear. And we know that in global mobility, we face that every single day with a project, with a housing situation, with a payment that we have to give them, or housing, you know, all of these things. When there's an issue, unfortunate, global mobility is always instructed to say that we're working on it. To me, that is hard, because a lot of people, like I see all of these people that are here, all these wonderful people, I think we're all very transparent. That is the reason why a lot of us have businesses, because we're kind of a little bit tired of, you know, doing the policy thing about following instructions that are just not on, right? And so that's what we were talking about. I mean, deceit is a big word, but in reality, it's just expressing the emotions that you go through as an expat when you are not being informed correctly, or you notice that there's something that is just not right. And manipulation, perceptions, beliefs, you know, all of these things are part of global mobility. So that's why we were talking about it, because it is part of coaching as well, right? You have to show people how to be, what's it called? Oh my God, I forgot the word. Okay, sorry?
Vulnerable, that's on my mind these days.
Honorable, yes, exactly. There's a lot of that missing.
And authentic and all those good words.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Mark. Right. Yes. So in coaching, what we do is that we teach people to do that, because in global mobility, in expat assignment, as a lot of you have experienced, we go through a lot of emotions. Besides not having clarity of the information, imagine now arriving and being set in a hotel versus a house, right? And then suddenly you're like, I have kids. How are we going to live in this hotel for the next, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 months? This is impossible. So imagine all the emotions, being in your face situation that also causes friction in families. So there's so much that we don't think about. And that is what I wanted to touch bases with Ed yesterday. And I hope, Ed, it was worth it. I mean, it was just fantastic. So thank you very much.
Bless you. Thank you. Okay. Ash, do you want to say something?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe, I just want to give my closing thoughts. I think that I have been part of many, probably thousands of masterminds, circles, and I have never been part of one that is not enhanced or coerced. I love this, I always, when I help people, I always use, when you have a couple of different sectors that you do, different names, what is it you want to do? Do you want to create an umbrella over it? I usually offer them global, universe, international, so they can put it under that. So because when you put it under example, we have expatology from Sandra, right? And under that, maybe she has 3, 4, 5 sectors, helping this, helping that. So what we say, do you like that you add universal, global, and Edwin already thought about that. So he has the global press, and I'm very privileged to be here. And now I know there was a lady that earlier was talking about, and she had a global, hold on, I know that there's a connection right there with her too. So I'd be happy to, I have probably a potential referral for her, that she was in a transition. For Marco Polo, I have Barry Shore that I want you to meet. And you remind me of Mr. Inspiration from Reagan's time. Mr. Inspiration was half of his body was cut off on Vietnam, and he walked on his hands to Reagan, and he's a friend of mine. He does speaking engagements with us, and he's still alive, even though half of the body, his half of the body is equal to 3 people. Look up Mr. Inspiration, right? And the person who really touched my heart today, literally was Doreen. Because what happens is, I had 2 topics to talk about: relationships, right? So relationships are important. You don't need to make relationships with everyone. You should kind of have the first discovery call, talk to them, see if they are actually interested, aside from getting you as a client, how they can get money out of you. Are they interested in you, your family, kids, your book? If they ask you immediately, then they're a giver. And it's okay to be a taker, but you have to be careful making relationships, because as relationships are important, if you are excited, inspired, and you make into a relationship and it's a wrong relationship, guess what? It's harder to come out of those relationships, because when you have a relationship, you open up your heart, everything, the best of contacts like today. And the last thing is you want to see, oh my God, it's a bad feeling. So and I also want to talk about something that I do is called a triangle you, what you do, and your services or your products. What I want to tell you is, on a paper, write down on a triangle, on the top you, and then take an inventory of the different layers of you. Example, we do Paul. Paul as a son, Paul as a friend, Paul as a writer, Paul as a Paul that was 12 years old. Paul, so maybe there's 30, 40 Pauls. And what you do with that is called reflection. Look at yourself in the mirror and look at the piece very generally, macro, not micro. We can become, nitpicks. And look at Paul, the friend, best friend to Edwin. And 9 is excellent. There's no perfect 10. 7 is very good. 5 is okay. And 3, challenge. And there's not a problem. So you look at every piece of you and just take inventory of where you are with all those pieces. And guess what? There's a trick with that. As soon as you do that, there's a magic that's going to happen. So that's you. Then you go to your organization, whether you're a solopreneur, like our friend that finds C-level people and he's very good at it. I can tell he's good at it. Or you're an entrepreneur, you do many different things, 3, 4, 5, doesn't matter. You take your organization, not the divisions, okay, the organization, okay? And like example, Edwin has the global, he has the press, the media, and the magazine is coming up. You take the organization and you do the same thing. You ask yourself, is my organization community able to manifest my verticals, or do I have to expand or retract? Sometimes you have to retract, right? Because a breath is in and out. a wave goes and comes back. You have to create always? No, don't create. Sometimes don't create, just enjoy what you have created, right? So take an inventory and a reflection of your organization and see what you're good at. Again, you remember those 9, 7, 5, 3. When you find your challenges, do not try to go Google. Find an expert. Because it could be a person that in empowerment, right, knows Napoleon Hill himself, right? So Tony Robbins. Find a person. If you don't have the funds, then find a person who knows the person, and that person has a cause. Every person. People are billionaires. I have friends that have no money. I have people that are 15 years old. I have you want to write her name down? Wow, forgot for a second. There's a 102-year-old doctor in Arizona that she's the mother of homeopathic doctor in the world. She just wrote a new book and, was advisory how to bring it to 22 countries. So see what's important for them. She wants to build a village in Arizona, so I'm going to help her. And guess what? She's going to give me her time to people who don't have the money. So always find out what is it that the person who has a lot of power wants. Is it a son that they have that has a Parkinson's, God forbid, that they need to talk to Marco Polo? Ask questions. And then best thing is to pay for it. And if you don't have, it's okay. But don't use people. Use leverage. And that's how you can get your organization, clear, how to go to the next level. And the last thing is your services or products. Your services and products are there to create for you wealth, right? And make sure people hire you. If people are not hiring your products and your services, guess what? Don't offer them. Take them off the shelf and just remember, there's you and there's your company. See what value, and everybody's after, what problem? And everybody say, if you cannot answer a problem, you have to find a solution, then you can make money. That is not true. Do you know that lots of people who are very successful, my friends, lawyers, doctors, they're lonely. Don't look at yourself that you're bubbly, you come here and you're excited and you bring so much joy to people. There are people who actually, they're at home, they do not want to pick up the phone, they do not come on Zoom, and they're suffering. Most of the people now with the COVID, they're suffering. So do you know that just by being an honest person and people have a lot of money, there's a way you can just be a friend, listen to them. And you don't need to ask for money. You know what you do? You say, if I bring value, here is my Zoom. Sorry, here's my Zelle. You don't need to say I charge $1,000. Do you know sometimes when you just truly yourself, they will send you $1,000. So these are the ways of you, right? Your organization, your service and products. And again, this is just very general. Today, I wanted to make sure you guys have some value. And if you get back to me, I'd be happy to, because of Edwin, I'm available. Don't think I'm so busy. I'd be happy to introduce to each of you one quality person that can make your business yourself or your services, or can hire you. Sometimes say, Ashkan, I'm comfortable, me, my organization, and service. And you can be clear, you be honest. I want a client, right? I have a call next with Dan, and he's a $60,000 a year, right? I'm going to talk to him next to get him clients. You can ask me, I want clients, and then we send you clients. So I can do that if you reach out to me. And I'm also going to promise you to give you one channel, so right, like G100. So for Edwin, I already have put down 2 people. One, for him to connect with him as a gift to him and as a thank you to him. And also have a network that I want him to connect to. Don't forget, people are not networks. Networks are not people. And again, thank you, Edwin. This was a very amazing. I saw my friend here, Paul, again, and I didn't know he's in LA, so I'm going to be all over him. I'm going to talk to him. So that's it for me. I'm available. I have my information there. Get back to me if I forget. I forget. Ask, and I'd be very happy to bring value to you guys. Thank you, Edwin.
Thank you, Ash. Gary.
Wanted to go back to deceit and global mobility, personal experience. I think it's damn dangerous to be in a global company, especially based in the US, and then they have this hot opportunity for you to go to Europe or Asia or Middle East or what have you. Typically, the fad of the day is that business you're in, or the role they want done, or the thing you're trying to fix. Then that fad goes away. Then that sponsor of the person loses his or her clout, and you're stranded. you don't have the relationships to get you back into your career. I just don't think generally they take a 5 or 10 year view of it. I saved a huge problem by being offered a job in Athens for the Middle East and Black Africa. And my wife had that famous saying of saying, look, tall, blonde, white guy, just put a target on your back so they know where to shoot. I think careers are many, many times killed, and until that strategic side of it gets put together, I think global mobility is incredibly dangerous.
Thank you.
Comment on that?
Please.
I would definitely agree. That's why I think there should be a danger sign on all overseas assignments.
Yep.
But on the other hand, there are corporations who do have succession planning and who do have purpose. And so it's very confusing for the hiree to sort through without knowing the history and the real intentions of the corporation. So I would just agree with you and say, definitely, Gary, buyer beware, or go out and do it and then buy my book.
Well, put several danger signs on it.
Yeah.
I have to sign off here. Ed, this is wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gary. And we'll talk to you about my Friday thing. Take care. All right, everybody. You'll all receive the program link probably tonight. But I welcome you to join another program. Paul, thank you for doing this and for rearranging your time. I value your time. And we'll see you at Global New York a week from today. And Annette also, and Annalisa also. And I thank you all. And have a great day and a great week. Enjoy the spirit of life that this program has brought out.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you
Thanks,
for
Ed. Thanks,
organising
everybody.
it.
Thank you.
We wouldn't be here were it not for you.
And vice versa.
Good evening.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.